Hi, gang, it's Paul. I'm with the Nonpartisan Evangelical. I'm also known as the Old Pastor, having new conversations. And so glad to be able to talk to you today. Yes, it was a crazy end to the week in the world of religion and politics last week. We had some crazy stuff happening. Franklin Graham, who's the son of Billy Graham, kind of an evangelical leader, he and another evangelical leader named John MacArthur came out this week and said, basically, if you're a Christian, you have to vote for Donald Trump or else. We also have seen other evangelical leaders come out and say the same. And I just want to tell you guys, that's total crap. You don't have to do that at all. And those guys are very, very, very wrong for having said so. That's just my thought on it. So we had the president go a little bit kind of crazy. First, we had the story come out in the Atlantic last week that said the president had been saying that our military guys, particularly those who had been killed in action, were losers and suckers for not finding a way to get out of the military. Now, of course, they denied it from the White House, and many people have come out and said that's not true. But for the most part, you get the feel around that people are kind of like, the exact things that were written in the Atlantic might have happened. But that's sort of the tone you get from him. Yeah. And so a couple of really funny things from then my Trump supporter friends came out around this. The first one is, immediately they're defending the president. And one of the defenses is, the Atlantic article's using anonymous sources. It must be fake news with anonymous sources. And my first thought on that was, okay, wait, so some guy in his mom's basement calls himself QAnon, which is short for anonymous, I believe. So an anonymous guy who's probably some dude in his mom's basement somewhere, that we believe. But anonymous sources to the Atlantic, a publication and journalistic organization that's been around 100 years, that we don't trust. That says a lot about some people. But the other thing that I found really humorous about it is the same people who are saying, America, love it or leave it, to our athletes who take a knee during the national anthem. How can you disrespect the military like that? A president of the United States says that a dead soldier is a sucker and a loser. And even if we don't believe he said that totally, we do know that he said of John McCain, he didn't find anybody who was captured in war a hero. This is the man who got out of the Vietnam War because of bone spurs. And the same people who are saying, leave America if you don't love it, to athletes taking a knee during the national anthem to stand up against systemic racism. Those same people are defending the president now. Hypocrisy. Thy name is right-wing evangelicalism, isn't it? One other thing that I found really interesting lately, and as I finish this up, is a lot of my Christian friends saying, how can you stand with black people and when Black Lives Matter is for gay rights and against the traditional family? Well, I personally call gay rights loving human beings. And I think Jesus did that. I think he did love human beings. So that one I'm not even going to go too deeply in. But this traditional family thing really interests me because what is the traditional family? Well, I think if you ask the people throwing out that term that are concerned about it, they would say traditional family is husband, wife, mom, dad, 2 kids, and a white picket fence. And saying that's the traditional family that God wants us to stand for. Well, the interesting thing about that traditional family is that family actually didn't exist in the Bible. There was no such family. Families lived communally and generationally. Many families lived together. And so there's a couple of ways I know this to be true. One is just history, but also Jesus talked about heaven in this way. He said, in my Father's house are many rooms. And if I'm here and go away to prepare a place for you, I will come back for you and take you to be with me there. So we've taken that to mean he's going to heaven, coming back and getting us. We're going to have a mansion on a street of gold up there. The Bible doesn't actually say that. It says, I'm going to build a room onto my Father's house where there are many rooms. And what that alluded to was the fact that people in Jesus' day lived communally. You lived maybe around a shared courtyard with a whole bunch of families and a whole bunch of generations of your own family. And so A betrothal was you were going to marry a woman from another family, sometimes in a village fairly significant distance away, considering they didn't have cars or airplanes and those types of things. So the young man would travel to the other family, meet the girl, they would get to know each other, and then he would say to her, I'm going to go back and build rooms for us in my father's house, and I will come back and get you, and we will be betrothed and married, and we will live in my father's house. That's not a traditional family. That's not a husband, wife, mom, dad, and kids. Another way I know this is, there's the story when Mary and Joseph are leaving Jerusalem, and they get down the road a ways and they realize they don't have Jesus with them. Now, how would a mom and dad of a kid leave their kid behind in the city of Jerusalem? Were they terrible parents? No, they lived communally. And so there was a whole big group of them traveling together. And so they just assume somebody's got Jesus in the midst of all of this. We got these kids and those kids, that family's kids here. We all take care of each other's kids. And so somebody has Jesus. And it took them a while to finally say, hey, who's got Jesus? When I hear white evangelicals talking about the traditional family and saying this is what we have to stand for if we love God, and then I talked to a friend not long ago from a background of a community of color, and she said, whoever said this European white ideal was the traditional family? She said, in our family, we have parents, grandparents, cousins who live together or in close proximity. The kids go from house to house. You can go eat out of anybody's fridge that you want, and those parents can discipline you if they want to. And who's to say that's not the better family? She said, actually, I feel for white people who don't get to have that intergenerational living experience. And one thing we know is in this time of COVID, wouldn't that have been helpful for a lot of people to live intergenerationally? So one of the things we have to do is the things we say are biblical and godly. Let's make sure they're in the Bible and that God really does stand for the same things we do. I saw a quote recently that I loved, and it said, if your God hates all the same people that you hate, then you're worshiping a God that you created, not the real God. Those are my thoughts for the day. Hey, Old Pastor, New Conversation. Every Tuesday, I'm going to put out a meme with a question on it. Love your feedback on it. And then on Fridays, we'll talk about it on this live here on Instagram. But anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions or particular things you'd like to talk to around issues with the Bible, hard questions that we have to talk about sometimes that maybe in your evangelical church experience, they were afraid to talk about or afraid to think, well, what if they believe that? I think it's time for us to delve into those things. So let me know, leave me a comment, and I'll see you guys later this week. Bye.